Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about American Gods, Season 1, Episode 6. It's called A Murder of Gods. Full spoilers for the episode, as always.
Can I just say I really like the title because it makes you think, like a murder of crows rather than it being killing. When it's a
Hmm,
murder of gods like that, I feel like it's a group. Is that the collective term for a group of gods?
sure. I have no idea. Uh, there was crows in this, though, since you brought them up.
There was, yeah.
So more crows, with messaging and foreshadowing, helping out Mr. Wednesday. Well, as we always do, we'll start with the pre... the prologue scene.
The coming to America.
The coming to America once again. Oh, to be fair, a couple of them haven't been that.
No, the last one wasn't, and the Laura one wasn't, but all the others were.
Yeah. What about the woman dying, though? She was already in America.
No, that's true.
So really, it's only been the first two and then this one.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about the woman dying one.
Yeah. So yeah, in this case, it was Mexicans, coming across the river, and there's no pesky wall to stop them, so clearly they're just going to walk on through. Satire. So
Good.
yeah, they're walking over and they make this whole spiel about, oh, if you can't swim, you can't come. And apparently there's one guy out of this entire group of like 24 Mexicans who can't swim, but he
I mean,
decides.
there's the kids as well because they're clearly floating on the boxes and whatever they've got.
Oh, sure, but I mean, obviously their parents will all make sure they get across okay. But the idea
Yeah.
being that there's not enough people for the adults to have like lifeguards essentially leading them across. Um, but they get across, and the guy decides to, like, well, you know what? I'm not staying here on my own. I'm just going to give it a go. And if I drown, I drown. And Mexican Jesus saves him and walks on water. And
Yeah. I thought it was like, because obviously when the prayers were going, I was like, this is very Christian.
hmm,
I was like, and I was like, okay, is this Christianity coming to America? I was at this point. I
all
was,
right, no,
I was.
because I didn't think it was that old. It felt, I don't know if it felt like present day necessarily, but it didn't feel like it was olden times. It felt
No, I agree.
uh,
That's why I was a little bit confused at first. I was like, okay, what's going on? But then obviously you see the tattoo. I was like, okay, I see where this is going.
yeah, we got all different types of Jesus, and this Jesus saves the man, and uh, and then a bunch of rednecks show up and shoot him in the head. And well, they shoot the woman in the head first, and then they shoot Jesus. Jesus ends up getting shot through the hand, and then
Yeah.
eventually dies, and he lies there all sort of crucifixed, laid out with
Well,
his arms
yeah.
out.
That's why it's very notable they did shoot through the hand because obviously that was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
nail.
and the nails and all the
Yeah.
rest of it.
But
Um,
I thought it was really interesting. Obviously, the ones that killed him were also Christians.
Yeah, well, I think you can read into this a couple of ways. I think one of the things that immediately popped into my head was this idea of assimilation. Like, if you're coming to our country, then you're doing away with your god and you're
It's
accepting
it's it's
ours.
our version. Yeah.
Yeah. Although as the episode went on and we got to the whole, every bullet's like a prayer to me, sacrifice to me. Like when we get to that later,
Hmm.
I was thinking back to this scene. I was like, oh, wait, is it kind of like they think they're doing it in the name of their god, but they're not really. Their actual god is the gun, essentially, because it's this kind of lifestyle. And
Yeah.
so I was reading it a couple of different ways. Very, very blatant and in your face though. This one, this was like there wasn't even a hint of like subtlety to this. This was
Well,
just
do you know what? That was it. At first, I thought it was going to be like weirdly subtle, like they didn't want to show Jesus because it was out of focus, and then you just saw the hand and the foots on the footsteps walking across the water. I was like, okay, are they just going to be really coy about it for some reason?
no. He speaks. He turns
And
to the camera.
but then it does the camera, yeah, and then you have the light comes around his head, and it's like, okay, now they're just going for it. Fair enough.
Yeah, yeah. No subtlety in that scene. But that was kind of the two ways I read it. In the time of the scene, and then later with some new knowledge going back to it, I kind of
I
looked at
think
it
it's
both those
interesting
ways.
that this is perhaps the first one of these coming to Americas where later in the episode has affected how I viewed it. Like it made me think back to it and change my perspective on what I'd
Yeah,
seen.
yeah,
I think the others were very much no, this is just it, and then they played in thematically later on, but nothing changed and made me think back to it the way that this did.
yeah. That's made me sort of reanalyze how I thought about it, and I still think the first interpretation works. Like it still completely fits with
Yeah, it
that.
is, but then it gives you
Yeah,
this extra layer.
yeah. This idea that the people who use the word of God and they say, "Oh, I do what I do for my religion, and I believe these things, and this is why I am this bigoted way, or this is why I attack people." That's not really what they worship. It's the violence they like, or it's these
Yeah, it's
things they like.
basically an attack on religious extremism in general. Like
Yeah,
going, you're not doing this in the name of your religion. You're just using that to justify it for yourself.
yeah. So in that sense, I actually like the scene. However, I did think it was a bit too over the top and in my face. Like when Jesus was actually smelling at them, and then he was like lying all with his hands out. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
this is a bit much. Like, like,
I agree. It was a bit on the nose, but
don't
I
get me
did
wrong,
enjoy it.
I definitely liked it more than last week's. Last week's I didn't like at all. Whereas this one, I liked the messaging behind it.
Yeah, yeah. It was. It definitely had a lot there.
So I would sort of split the rest of the episode into two main plots. We got our Shadow and Mr. Wednesday doing their thing because they sort of ride off, and Wednesday makes sure that Shadow can't tell that Laura's running after them. So then Laura with Mad Sweeney, because Mad Sweeney's not letting her go. He's like, no, I'm sticking with you so I can get my coin back. He's also, I know someone who can actually proper resurrect you, and then you can give him my coin back, and you won't melt in the summer because you're
Yeah,
decomposing.
he just like casually name drops Jesus.
Yeah, because she says something like, "Did you just name drop Jesus like it's someone you know?"
And he's like, yeah, I know a guy who knows a guy.
And that's when we get our first connection to one of those I mean, it was a good scene, but one of those very random mid episode scenes from the first few episodes because we have Salim, and as soon as they got to walk up to the cab, I'm like, wait, is that going to be the cab?
Yeah,
From episode 3?
it's nice, and now it's making me go, right, where's Bilquis coming into this?
Presumably at some point, you have to imagine.
Yeah, because up till now I could buy it was just a story, whereas
Honestly, I'm going to make a complaint about how they've handled Bilquis in this sense then, because after episode 2, because they gave her a scene in the middle of the first 2 episodes. After episode 2, I thought, oh, we're going to come back to her every week, and then it didn't. And now we're at episode 6, which is most of the season at this point. I think it's really weird that they gave us 2 scenes with her, and it was the first 2 episodes. I feel like you should have done the first one, and then maybe left the second one till
I
somewhere
will
else.
argue its defense on one clause. If she comes into it and she's weak again, right? Because we saw her getting stronger. If when we get reintroduced to her as part of the main story, if she's got weaker again, I will buy it because then it's like, hey, you forgot about her, so she got weaker, and I'll like that.
Okay, I see your reasoning from a structural point of view.
Yeah,
It's
I
weird.
like it. Just it is weird from a structural point of view, but just from the meta commentary of it, I'll enjoy that.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, honestly, it's actually really conflicting because I still really hate Laura as a person, right? She is thoroughly maddening. Her attitude with
But-
everything.
But how good is she with Sweeney?
Well, this is the thing. Them as a team, this little band of the 3 of them, because Salim's with them and he's driving, and presumably they're going after Shadow, but they make a bit of a detour here and they go back to her hometown first to look at things. And but like, yeah, their banter is actually pretty entertaining. It's the one time I kind of like her is when she's like hurting him and he's dropping all his foul language and he's witty. I mean, I think the one complaint with him is that his accent's a little bit wavering. Like sometimes it's Irish and sometimes it's not quite. And
Yeah, I agree. You just write it off as going, he's been in America long enough.
yeah, sure. But he is pretty funny with her. And
The funniest for me was when they're with the motel clerk, receptionist. When she's going, well, where's my car?
Yeah.
And he comes in, and that stuff was killing me.
Yeah, no, all this stuff was pretty funny. It's definitely I think what I was enjoying most in the episode in terms of like a pure entertainment standpoint.
Okay.
Just in terms of like just enjoying the scene, because I think a lot of this show for me is starting to feel more like that opening scene where like I'm liking kind of what it's saying, but it's maybe doing it in a bit too much of a like either obvious or fancy pants way, where it's kind of like in love with its style.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Whereas this is, it's not trying to do anything fancy. It's not going, hey,
Yeah.
analyze this. It's just going, hey, enjoy it. Enjoy
Yeah.
the banter.
Yeah.
No, I know what you're saying.
And that's not to say that I don't like things that I can analyse it. I mean, go look at our Twin Peaks reviews or look at how we picked apart Mr. Robot or Westworld. Like I like that kind of thing. It's again what I was bringing up last week about Shadow being like kind of an empty vessel at this point and just kind of being along for the ride. Like I'm still feeling that in this one.
Oh, okay. I get that. I mean, he kind of is, but that's kind of just his purpose at the minute. So there's always so much you can criticize it without just saying the same again.
Oh, of course, yeah. My ultimate point with that is that I just don't have
You have a reason to care.
I don't have a horse in the race.
Yeah. No, that's definitely fair.
But no, so there's stuff's really fun, and Sweeney, of course, tries to throw a wrench in her plans, and he's like, well, you're just sort of going after him. He might not want you, and he compares it to like anal sex, how women don't want anal sex, but men do because they like it and they know they don't, and it's this weird feeling. And then she curbs that by saying, "But hey, I like anal sex," and he casually drops her because he kind of figures out that Salim's gay, and he brings some mention because he talks about how he's not ashamed to be who he is. And he's like, well, you had to hide it until you got to America, otherwise you were going to be in all kinds of trouble. Given his faith and where he's from. Yeah. So their banter was mostly pretty good, but sometimes when it went off into her monologuing, it was like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm like,
yeah, I feel you.
And they're talking about, oh, maybe we can resurrect you properly. Like, no, just let her die. Like, let her die.
Well, that's it. I like the idea that it's maybe he doesn't care. He just wants to string her along because it's fun and wait until she.
Oh yeah, he wants his coin.
Yeah, he wants the coin, but he's like, nah, screw it. I'm going to give her false hope and toy with her if I have to, just to get some pleasure out of it.
Yeah. Also, I'm loving the dead wife name, just calling her dead wife constantly is cracking me up. So I'm enjoying that. Meanwhile, Shadow and Mr. Wednesday are going to recruit the next person, the next sort of soldier, and the next god soldier in this war that's potentially coming. Although on the way, they have to deal with the fact that Shadow gets stabbed by that tree and there's like a parasite thing inside him. All squirrely legs, and it's kind of... It's
kind of cool looking, isn't it?
Do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of those... I can't remember what they were called. In the Matrix, when they were in the real world, those big sentinel things.
Ah, yeah, I know what you're on about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it.
They came after the ship. It reminded me of that, but obviously more less metal and more organic.
I thought it looked pretty cool.
No, yeah, it looked cool. So that was all fine and well, and they go to this town, the town of Vulcan.
Yep.
Vulcan, which I'm assuming is not a real place.
No.
I'm assuming it's not. I mean, obviously, even if it is a real place, it won't be like this, because this is obviously...
You have to assume not.
But they go into this town, and it's like everyone's wearing these red things in their arms, kind of like the whole Nazi kind of swastikas, the way they'd have them on the uniforms. Like, kids have got them, they're all walking about with guns, and we see like this sort of fancy montage of this guy falling into this molten pit.
Yeah, that was kind of at first that was kind of the equivalent of the Somewhere in America middle section, because when it cut to that, I thought that's what it was, and then we kind of carried on and caught up with it. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we found out what it was, because it was like almost like a kind of parade for this, and it's because it's a sacrifice. And so we're basically interested in the guy who runs this town, and he is Vulcan. He's this god of because as I was watching, I was thinking, is he the god of weapons? Is he the god of sort of? And it's
close.
It turns out he's a god of forgery.
Yeah, he's the Roman equivalent of Hephaestus.
Okay.
But he's a bit more destructive, as well as being the god of the forge. He's kind of the god of fire as well, and it's...
Yeah, when I had a quick glance at it, it looked like he was always related to volcanoes, and people would sacrifice into volcanoes.
Yeah.
And the idea that he's developed beyond that, but he still has part of his roots by having the molten pits and stuff. Like, it still feels kind of volcanic in that sense.
Interesting little tidbit. He is not from the book.
Oh, interesting.
This is this original character for the show.
Well, they had to start padding it somewhere.
Still created by Neil Gaiman, though.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like he had this experience where like this actually happened. So where they talk about how the factory, it was cheaper just to pay off the debt the families when someone fell in than it was to close the factory and put it up to code.
Oh, I can believe that.
That actually happened.
I can believe
that's where the idea of this came from.
Yeah, it's easier to take the hit once in a while than it is to just actually fix it and put it up to code. Yeah, nah,
Yeah.
I can totally buy that some companies are doing that.
Yeah.
But no, so they get this started, and we basically learn, and it kind of ties in because we kind of reveal later on that he actually is with the new gods and he's working with them, and it kind of makes sense because what he's kind of done by turning his whole thing into, oh no, every bullet that's shot that I've made is a sacrifice to me, kind of thing. It's kind of what Mr. World was getting at last week when he says, oh, we'll turn you into a new version for the 21st century, kind of thing.
The globalization, the updated, like the idea that, you know, it's not about religion anymore. It's not about faith in you. It's about your product.
Yeah, and that's basically what they've done here with him. Like they've turned it into he's making all these bullets and guns, and it's them being used that is worshipping him. That's what the sacrifices are.
Yeah, he's now the god of guns, not just the god of the forge.
Yeah, he makes a pretty cool sword as well for because he's playing along with Mr. Wednesday and he's sort of going along with it.
This show has never felt more fantasy than when you're having a magic sword forged.
That is very true. And Mr. Wednesday, of course, is very upset that he is working with Mr. World and co. And well, he stabs him and puts him in the pit, into the molten pit. And if I'm going to correct, because this show typically looks very good. There was 2 shots in this that I thought looked a bit weak.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
One was at the parade thing when they all shoot their bullets into the air. There was that shot of all the bullets like sort of turning round in the sky.
Yeah,
I thought that looked like horseshit.
Mm-hmm.
Really bad CG. And then the other one was one of the shots of him in the molten pit. Not all of them. Some of them looked really good, but there was one. It was just this one. But I think when he was first going in, it just looked really bad.
It was around his face. It just looked strange.
It's because they did it with CG. Like the example I always come back to is Terminator 2. But this was, of course, even though they had some CG in that movie, they didn't use it for everything, and that was a practical effect where they just lit it up and they made it look like molten, and it looked really good. I always
feel CG lava looks strange.
It does, especially when someone interacts with it. That's when the problem.
It's one of those things where most things we have effects that are up to standard now.
Yeah,
lava is one of those that still eludes most people. It just never looks quite right, and I don't know.
But but the reason why those 2 shots stuck out is because it typically has, if any complaints I can throw at it, one thing I can't complain about is how good it looks, typically.
Yeah, exactly. So
but those 2 just stuck out.
It does stand out more. It wasn't they looked awful, but they were noticeably worse than everything else.
I think the bullets looked horseshit. Like, I think that shot looked awful.
Yeah. Joe, I was really interested in that sequence because it really reminded me of the snowfall. It almost looked like this was, Shadow thinking about all those bullets going up was what brought them down that way.
I can see that. It was quite cool as well, just them all landing. They were raining down essentially, and they were making little dents in the car as he was.
Yeah. And the 2 gods just stood there in the middle of it, like the warfare raining down around them.
Yeah, but this is the god of war and the god of.
It's his bullets. They're not going to hurt him, are they?
Yeah, they're both quite comfortable with all this. But yeah, he kills it and then he pisses in the molten pit, Mr. Wednesday, and says he's cursing it.
Seems rather petty, frankly.
Does seem petty. I took that to mean that it's so that the sacrifices won't count anymore from there.
Perhaps.
Like that's what he was doing. He was making sure he doesn't come back, at least not too quickly, because the sacrifices from the bullets from this factory won't count anymore because he's cursing it. But I'm just kind of jumping it. I'm just grasping at straws with that one.
I considered that, and then I thought, I don't know. I think he is just being petty. He's like, nah, you chose them against me. I'm going to piss on you.
It's
in character for him.
It's because he said he was cursing him, though, and because this show does a lot of these things, I just kind of take him at his word that he is probably cursing it.
No, I agree. But for me, when he was going, I was cursing. I thought he was just going. I'm just telling Shadow that, like, so he doesn't look crazier than he is.
Yeah. But so much nudity in this show, but Ian McShane was not up for his cock being on camera, was he?
He was not.
They had that quite well. He's a respected actor. They can't force him to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. But that was the gist of the episode. It was kind of those 2 main things. It was the Vulcan plot with Shadow and Mr. Wednesday, and then the trio in the cab on this road trip across America. I enjoyed the episode overall. I'm still feeling a little bit detached, as I said last week. And it has been a bit more noticeable these last couple of episodes because, we're a bit further in and it's getting to the point where I feel like I should be attached a bit more than this.
Yeah, it's kind of getting to the point where you want the war to start so you have a team to root for more because there's because even though now we've been introduced to the villains, they're still just going around gathering. There's no actual fight. There's no opposition still. A lot of it, it feels like that.
Yeah, it has a weird sort of checklist feel to it, where it's like they've went through and got a couple of people, and then this one's failed, but it's like kind of we're going to town, collecting different people, but it's given it this very kind of same kind of thing over and over in different ways. Kind of.
I do like the way it keeps it feeling fresh because each town they visit is completely different. Has such a different feel to it.
It does. I think it just from a structure point of view, it starts to hurt a little bit because I felt the same way about Ash vs Evil Dead season 1, which I mean I like that show a lot, but season 1 kind of had that problem where they were in their car with their RV and they kept or the trailer and they just kind of kept every single episode started with them pulling into a town, then the plot would happen and it would end with them leaving the town in the car. Like it almost started and ended the same way. Like season 1, season 2 really changed that and shook it up, which is why I think season 2 is a much better season, but. It's not quite as bad as that in this season, but it's just kind of similar
it's getting there.
idea.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but hey, maybe season 2 will fix that problem as well.
maybe. However, I'm not particularly chuffed that we keep saying now. Oh, maybe season 2 will do this, and season 2 may do that.
I agree, but I think it's when we're noticing these faults, and there's only 2 episodes left now. It feels like there's not actually that much time for them to fix these faults.
Oh, sure. But I think it almost makes it worse. Like, you had 8 episodes and
No, definitely.
You should have maybe thought about this and give us a more complete kind of thing for season 1, but we'll see what they do with the next 2. But obviously there's still a lot to like in the show, but it's just, it's missing the mark from being great for me for the reasons discussed. So... there we go. That is episode 6 of American Gods. Let us know what you think of it in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Helps us out. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz. You can support the channel by going over to patreon.com /mailedfuzztv and check out some of the bonuses over there if you want to support us. But otherwise, guys, thank you very much for watching. Once again, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Have you got any vanilla? I'll finish that outro somehow.